Up now we have Giovanni, who's going to be telling us about ApplicationDrivenLearning.jl.
Thank you. So I'll talk a bit about ApplicationDrivenLearning.jl. I believe it was last year's Jump Dev or the other. Joaquin already presented a lot of things, a lot of the motivation, what's going on under the hood. So I'll not dig super deep into that, but I'll try to explain it a bit, explain some of the additional features we've been developing, why we're developing that, and some experiments. And I'll be focusing a lot on this composable architectures, which is one way of putting prior information into the forecast model that you're trying to train. But let's step back a little and talk about application-driven learning. So usually when you have this type of decision under uncertainty systems, it's very common to have this kind of set where you do prediction, you have some forecasting, machine learning, statistics model, and then feed the forecast from this model into optimization model. And of course, you can do a bunch of things. You can do scenario generation. You can do point-wise forecasts. But the problem is you are always training these types of model with standard predictive metrics. So we give here an example of MSA, which is squared errors. So you're training your model to try to forecast the future as best as you can, but you're not giving this model any information about the decision you'll be taking from it and the costs involved on that decision. And of course, these are two very different ways of thinking about training a forecast model. So we try to bridge the gap with application-driven learning, which tries to do this thing right here, which is using to train our model. So we are training the model, trying to get the best theta parameters, which are the parameters of the predictive model. We can think it as weights from a neural network, parameters from a time series model. But we'll train it not using squared error or absolute error, any function like that. We use the costs of assessing the decision that will be made based on that forecast when faced with real values. So we're doing a bunch of things here. We're forecasting future values, making a decision based on that forecasts, then assessing the costs of that decision when the real values are realized, and usually the real values are different than our forecasts. Then we can really give the model some information about the application. And the way we think about doing this is with this bi-level formulation. In the upper level, you have your assessment costs. So this is the cost of the decision, the optimal decision when faced with real values, the y values. Your decision, of course, is theta parameters, which are the parameters from your predictive model. And inside the model, you have the lower problem, which is your actual decision problem. So you are extracting an optimal decision from the forecasts. And of course, the forecasts come from the model parameters with probably some external, some exogenous variables, some data you use to train the model. So this bi-level formulation allows us first to think on solving this bi-level model. We have an application in the package, a way of really building that bi-level model and solving it using bi-level jump. But of course, for real-world problems where your predictive model can be pretty huge, your decision problem can be complex, and your data can be huge, you won't be able to really build that problem, the bi-level problem, and solve it. So we are trying to rely on some heuristics for solving this problem. And our main one is trying to differentiate and give gradient information to the forecast model of this cost function. In here, we use a lot of the jump ecosystem packages to do this. So we use parametric opt interface to treat forecasts inside the model as parameters, and we can tweak the values freely. We use default, which I believe Joaquin will be presenting everything about tomorrow, to compute these gradients right here, which are the gradients of our optimal decision with respect to the forecast. So this is the gradient of a decision from your decision model with respect to parameters that can be both in the objective and the right or left hand side of the constraints of the model. So default is a big part of doing that. And then hopefully we can compute this, this gradient, which actually gives us information on how to modify the parameters from the predictive model with respect to the real cost function that we actually care about, which is the cost of the decision this forecast will be driving. So the idea is that application-driven learning will help us do all of that. As I said, a lot of additional packages from the JUMP ecosystem being used here. We use Flux to define the forecast models. Usually these are represented as neural networks. Of course, with neural networks, you can express a bunch of different structures, so it's pretty free. JUMP, of course, to define both what we call the planning model, which will be the lower level problem on the bilevel formulation, and the assessment problem, which will be the upper level, and orchestrating all of that. As I said, parametric opt interface to tweak with the parameters, default to compute gradients, MPI, job queue MPI to parallelize using MPI. Yeah, so this is a general overview. I don't want to go too much into everything we do with application-driven learning, but of course I'm happy to answer any questions. For this experiment, we are doing battery operation, and I wanted to bring this experiment because it's I think it has a very interesting characteristic, because the forecast we'll be doing here, I don't know if this is shown, yeah. So the decisions we want to do here is the actual battery operation. We want to decide on a 24-hour horizon how we will charge, discharge the battery, of course with respect to all the constraints. We are doing this operation for 3 different plants, so this brings another level of complexity. And for our forecasts, yeah, we can see it right here. For this problem, we actually have to forecast 2 major parameters. We need to forecast the prices of the energy for the 24-hour horizon, but also we are doing hybrid renewable plus battery, so we have to actually also forecast the generation from the renewable plant. And this is interesting because this brings a level of complexity to our task. The prices, they will go into the objective function. They will directly go on how we will access the solution from the planning model. But the generation, they are more like a constraint parameter. They will go into the right-hand side of the constraints and limit what the model can do. So the model here has a complex task of tweak with both these forecasts and finding what we would call the optimal forecast model that gives the right bias in the right moment for the right parameter in order to get the best possible decision for this problem. The data we are using here, we are using about 2 years of data from ERCOT. A lot of parameters, so the model has some information on how to do this forecast. And as I said, we want to forecast generation and price for each hour and each project. So these are 144 variables being forecasted at each data instance. And I was talking about the priors. So one of the main things we want to explore here is how we can give priors to the forecast model in order to facilitate and possibly give better information on how to deal with the parameters where the variables were given and how to forecast the variables. This is, of course, already practice, known and good practice in the machine learning community. For our task here, where we want to bridge the output from a predictive model with the decision model, it was a kind of a challenge. And in here we bring three architectural priors, is what I called it. The single would be the vanilla one, a big MLP that is given all the features and forecasts all the 24 hours for all the three projects, both generation and prices. The split adds an additional information. So we split the networks that will forecast generation and prices and give to each network only the variables that are useful to that that task, forecasting generation or forecasting prices. So information like generation lags, or maybe some type of generation forecasts will go to one network but not to the other. And also this, the third one, which will give more information to as a prior to the model, which we call shared. And for this one, we are applying the same networks, the same parameters for all the three projects at the same time. So we are giving the same variables, the same exogenous variables to the forecast model, but changing the project that is referring to. So the forecast model uses the same parameters, but with different exogenous variables to forecast for different projects. The idea here, as I said, was to evaluate how adding these priors and adding more knowledge about the problem and about the data would make a difference for this type of model, and how this would affect the whole end-to-end pipeline. For this, we had to create this feature, which is the input-output map. So we have to map clearly how we will pass each exogenous variables to what model, so we can have, for example, the price model, so it will receive only certain exogenous variables. It will output certain values with a specified dimension, and we have to point these outputs, these forecasts, to a parameter that will get into the jump model. So we had to create this structure which basically maps the indexes of the X matrix, which is the matrix with the exogenous variables, which are application-driven learning forecasts variables, which are jump variables that are put into the model, and we can use the right forecast output. So finally, when we set up everything, we have a single way of training all types of architectures. We are declaring the predictive model, the application-driven learning, application-driven learning model, which brings both the planning and the assessment models, which are jump models, with everything already wired together, and defining the gradient mode, which will try to train this network using the gradient information, using everything I just showed. And for the results, I am bringing results from a single instance. So I'll first explain and then bring maybe some caveats. For these results, I was a bit surprised to see that the effect was so big for that single network, which was just the MLP block that was giving all the exogenous variables, forecasting everything at once. the model basically didn't improve at all the solution. So it basically started with the least square solution, training the model using a least squares framework, and it wasn't able to improve basically anything. This is basically noise. But for the other two, the split, where we split the networks that will forecast generation and price, and the shared, that we, besides of splitting, we also share the same parameters between projects. They were able to get solutions that showed much better final costs when using the forecast from those models. And again, this is one single instance. So of course, I can tweak the hyperparameters of the neural network, and I probably would be able to get good results with any model. But the point here is that we are building the model in a way that we are already putting some knowledge, some knowledge about the data and the problem into the model building. And like this, I don't have to worry about hyperparameter tuning, or at least I have to worry a bit less about that. This is just one example of what's happening here. So for this specific instance in this plot, this plot right here, we are showing the generation. So the black line is the actual generation, the actual 24 hours of generation for that day for the renewable plant. The blue dashed line is the least square. So we train a least squares model with squared error, and it tries to give a reasonable forecast. And in the red dashed line, we are seeing the application-driven learning model and what bias it is bringing to the forecasts. And this is an interesting instance because what it basically did was it overestimated generation in the first hours of the day. So the planning of the battery operation would have more room to charge the battery when price was lower. And with that, it was able to discharge a bit more in the peak in the peak price hour. And with that, it generated a much higher profit. So this is the type of behavior we're trying to achieve with the package that is deviating from what will be the closest possible forecast from the realized, and adding just the right bias just in the right time. Just one additional discussion about number of parameters. With these composable architectures, we can reduce the number of parameters, and this is one hypothesis why the shared model showed better improvements than the split model. It has much lower parameters because we are reusing the same parameters for all the three projects. And this is also a benefit of this feature. And these are just the conclusions that I just talked about. But our idea with the package is giving that framework to the user, so you're free to declare the forecast model in any way that suits the application and the data you have, and building your decision model with JUMP should be pretty straightforward, and you are able to achieve this type of model. Thank you very much.